Welcome, this is Jim, host of the Faith Influencer podcast, where we're going to dive into discussions on faith's role in everyday life, from navigating blended families to overcoming challenges. I'm a husband, a father, a Bible teacher, an advocate for applying faith to everyday life. So tune in as I share personal stories, valuable insights, and practical wisdom. Welcome back to Faith Influencer. This is Jim Cunningham. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today. There's an old saying, money talks. Also, there's a different way you can say it. Let's emphasize it this way. Money talks. I want you to have money talks with your spouse. Now, in particular, I'm talking to blended families. This is your blended family podcast. And do you know that blended families, way more than traditional families, that they do not combine their money? Many of them, way more than traditional first marriages, keep their money separate. What do you think about that? You've been giving me some great responses lately, so that's another one. Do you put your money together or do you separate it? And tell me why. I would like to know. But I'm going to give you some ideas about that today. And I want to introduce you to a concept that I want you to grab hold of because it's one of my favorite concepts in money talking. Money talks, but money talks. I want you to have these money talks with your spouse. And let's call it this. We're going to call it Paychecks and Play Checks. Now, this is a financial principle that I want to teach you today. And I want you to grab hold of the concept because what it will really do will help you get out of this idea of the big budget. As a matter of fact, what would you say if I said that you could be as responsible with your money without a budget? Some of you say, I'm already doing that. Well, I know, but I'm talking about a little more control than just out of control. I'm saying that if you follow this principle of paychecks and play checks, you really don't have to put a budget together so much. And I want to teach you that principle today. So, blended families, why don't you put your money together? And one of the biggest reasons is because you came out of a relationship that has affected your idea about money. What about me? You know, I have a blended family. We combine our money, and I want to tell you why we combine our money. We combine our money because in my first marriage, my commitment was all in. And with an all-in commitment, I didn't have a separate account and she had a separate account. That was my own personal conviction. So when I remarried, this is all in. This isn't partial. I'm not 50-50 into this thing. This is 100%, 100%. So I felt like it had to have that same type of commitment as my first marriage. And so we combined. Now, I want to tell you why it was difficult for my wife. So when we joined together our families, our blended family, we had his, hers, and ours now. But here was the thing, she felt funny spending money on her children. Now, you know how it is. Some of you are going to respond to that and say, I know exactly how she felt because I feel the same way. May or may not be your spouse's fault that you feel that way. It may be personal, maybe something you've just got in your mind. You don't want to spend money on your kids because you don't want to have to answer to that. So you want to have a personal account and then you can spend money however you want to on your children. Well, I'm going to say that we should work through that and not have that feeling. And I want to help you tell you how we did that as a couple. So first of all, I'm going to ask you to do something. And, really, this is homework. Now, I know you're not listening for homework, but I want to give you some fun homework that I want you to do. So here you are. You're remarried. You have a blended family, and you're considering blending your money. Maybe you haven't, maybe you have, but it's a struggle, and I want to help you get past that. And this is what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you, first of all, to create this vision board. Now, this is your homework. I want both of you to sit down. When I say a vision board, I'm talking about the fun stuff. On this vision board, I want you to map out your dreams. That's what I'm asking you to do. Map out your dreams. So on this vision board, put pictures of vacations you want to go on. Glue on pictures of things that maybe the car you want to drive, or maybe the house you want to live in. Maybe put in on the vision board your vision for your kids' college, where you'd like for them to go, maybe even a picture of the college. Have fun with this. Now, here's why I'm telling you to do this, because if we're going to combine everything, not just our hearts and our minds, but our finances, and we're all into this 100%, I'm not holding anything back. I don't have any secret hideaway places where I've stashed money that you don't know about. If we're all in, then we have to create this shared vision. A shared vision. You know what? Most couples don't do that. I'm asking you to create a vision board, because what that does, it's going to lay this foundation of a shared vision. So now you have a vision board, your spouse has a vision board, and when you look at that vision board together, what do you share? Maybe you both want to travel. That's on your vision board. Maybe you both want to drive a nice car. Maybe you both agree or disagree, I don't know, on college. But when you put it all out on a vision board, you're laying out what you really want. Now, that's important, because for me and my wife, when I really see her vision board and what she likes and what she wants to do and what she really wants to accomplish in life, maybe for us, we wanted a second home on the lake. That was on our vision board. It's something we wanted to accomplish. We both agreed on that. So you know what we did? We directed some finances that way and accomplished that. I wouldn't know that, though, if we didn't have a vision board where I knew that was one of our heart's desires. Now, these vision boards I'm talking about are the play checks. Now, follow this principle now. The play checks are, I'm going to have some money that we're going to use to accomplish this vision board of the shared vision, these fun things. Now, if I'm going to have play checks to do all of this, then I've got to understand paychecks. And this is where I want to teach you some money issues that people are having and why they don't have paychecks. Now, if you're going to establish a paycheck, here's the first thing you have to establish. You have to establish your monthly budget. You have to come up with the number that you need a month for your bills. Okay, we're going to back into this. How much do you need? Do you need $10,000 a month? You need $20,000 a month to pay for food and your house payment and your insurances and your car payment and kids' school or clothing or whatever it is. How much do you need every month? Now, here's what happens. Let's say you have a combined total of $20,000 a month and you need $12,000 a month to meet your budget. $12,000 a month, okay? Then what do you do with that other $8,000 left over? Most people say, I don't have $8,000 left over. Now, wait a minute. If you have a $12,000 a month budget and you bring in $20,000 a month combined, where's the rest of it? Chick-fil-A. It's at a steak somewhere. It's somewhere, right? That's what we do. So we're going to create paychecks and play checks. Create the paycheck. This is my monthly budget. This is how much I have to have. So you set up an account. Are you following? And you put your whole check into this one account. This is financial gold for you right now. You put your whole check combined into one account. And then this account has a spigot on it. You know what a spigot is? Has a faucet. And underneath this faucet, you draw out a circle, and that's where your monthly bills go. In this case, we're saying $12,000 a month. So you write $12,000 a month. When your check comes in, the first $12,000, it's paying your bills. But guess what? After you've paid your bills, everything left over is guilt-free. You following? If you pay your bills, and then I'm going to throw this other one in, and pay yourself, you got to pay yourself. I'm talking about saving, investing, and pay yourself. Everything left over is guilt-free spending. So let's put it together like this. So let's say you put in $12,000. That's your monthly budget. And let's say that you're going to take 10% of the $20,000. So $2,000 you're going to pay yourself. Okay. Your 401k counts as paying yourself. If you have other investments, I'm talking about paying yourself. So 12,000 budget, 2,000 paying yourself, that's $14,000. Now you bring in a combined total of $20,000. So what do you have left over? $6,000. What is that $6,000? That $6,000 is guilt-free spending. Now I've just created for you a budget. What a simple way to do it. If you'll put all the money into the account, have a faucet for your budget, have a faucet for paying yourself, and then guilt-free spending with the rest. You following? That's financial gold. Now, it's not going to work for you if you don't have a shared vision and you don't know where you're wanting to aim money. Because sometimes when you aim money, this is what I do. Let's say we want to go on a spring break trip, which we do. So we're planning on a fun spring break trip with our kids and our family and extended family. So we're going to rent a house. And in our case, we're going to rent a condo in Dallas, downtown Dallas. We're renting a condo because we're going to go to some ball games, do some of those things. So we're going to rent a condo. So guess what? We're going to create a little side account over here, and we're going to start throwing some money in there way ahead of time to pay for that. Taking control over your finances. Now, here's what we're solving. Listen, blended family. Here's what we're solving. That money that you want to hide and you don't want to bring together and you don't want to show your spouse because you want to be able to spend money like you want to on your children or something, and you ought to be able to spend money on your kids if you want to. You don't have to hide it when you set up a financial plan like this. Now, there's some financial software out there. Just go look for it. That's really good. Now, I want to encourage you to do one other thing. I know I've given you some guilt-free spending ideas, okay? You follow. But at the same time, in this scenario, you had $6,000 left over. You probably aren't going to go below $6,000. So let's say your spouse says, oh, we got $6,000 left over after a budget and after paying myself. So I'm going to go buy something big. So let's talk about that, okay? Why don't you set up for yourselves a number that you can spend without even talking about it? You agree before. I don't know. Maybe you say, we can spend $200 and we don't even mention it to the other person. We're just coming to an agreement before. We can spend $200. I'm just making up numbers. But if you want to do something over that, then you have a discussion about it. Maybe that's your agreement. Just come to an agreement on something. Now, when do you do this? Well, here's what happens. Have you ever gotten a fight with your spouse over money? I'm saying that facetiously because I know you probably have. If you get in a fight with your spouse over money, do you know what psychologists have told us about these kinds of fights? It's kind of weird, but you know what they told us? They've said that part of this comes because of the location you are when you discuss money. Money, especially in blended families, is a volatile issue. In some locations, gives you permission to be loud. We talked about yelling in another podcast, and a ton of you responded to that, and I appreciate it. But sometimes you're in a location where it promotes that. So let me give you this idea. Money talks. Money talks. Have some money talks. Have some money talks about what I'm talking about, coming to an agreement about what each of you can spend without having to have a discussion about it. I mean, I'll give you an example. If I'm out with my son and he says, I really need some shoes, I can go buy him shoes and not get permission. All right, I'm going to throw in parentheses here that if you're in a relationship where your spouse has to be in control, that's not a money issue, that's a control issue. That's not a money issue, that's a control issue. You may have a spouse who wants to control all of it. That's a whole different podcast, okay? But I'm just bringing it to your attention. I go and take my son, buy him some shoes. It's not a discussion we have to have beforehand because we came to an agreement. Yeah, let's spend this much without having to have an agreement. But when we really want to get down and talk about what we can spend our money on, what we want to spend our money on, our shared visions, the direction we want to go, how much we can spend on the kids, all of that, remember, You get into fights over this. So here's what's recommended. Have a money talk. Have your money talks at a place where you can't raise your voice, like a nice restaurant. Yep, that's where you do it. You go to a nice restaurant, you sit down, and there's always something psychological about being in a restaurant that eases the tension. And so go to a nice restaurant, you sit down at the restaurant. It's okay to even bring a little notebook with you sitting in a restaurant because you're going to have a conversation. But you already see what we're doing here. We're taking away the possibility of volatility. We're taking away the possibility of getting angry and yelling and walking away and all of this. We're going to bring it into an atmosphere where we can really get some things done and talk in civil tones and make some headway with our financial dreams. Now, it shocks me. It shocks me in the retirement world. I work in that world a lot. It shocks me in the retirement world that the average person who hits the ages of retirement has less than $100,000 saved for retirement. You know what that means? That means you're not going to retire. No one can live off of that. Do you know why that's happened? Because they didn't have any guidelines, parameters around their money. And one of the reasons is because they couldn't communicate together to ever get there. So they just coasted along and they had no plan. You will not get anywhere by accident. You're not going to get to comfort in retirement by accident. You're not going to reach those goals on your vision board by accident. You have to do it by intention. By intention. So you're going to intentionally sit down and walk through what we're talking about. So go back and listen to this again. Now, one last piece of homework. And if you roll your eyes while I'm telling you this, it's permitted. But here it is. I was talking to a guy yesterday. Longtime friend of mine, haven't seen him in forever. He called me out of the blue, and he's on the verge of divorce. And so much of it is around money issues, and he also has a blended family. I won't give you his name because occasionally he listens to the podcast. So when he was sharing with me his struggles, I said, just talk to her. Just talk to her. Tell her. He said, I don't want a divorce. She's like wanting to go through with it. And I said, have you told her? He said, no. I said, why haven't you told her? He said, I can't talk to her. I said, what are you struggling over? Well, blended family stuff, but in particular, money issues. It's such a big problem so that he's gone all the time. I'm talking about weeks at a time out on a job, making money to he felt like make her happy so she could have everything she wants. As a matter of fact, the way he put it, so she could live like a queen. He said, she don't realize that if we get a divorce, she's not going to be living like a queen anymore. I said, talk to her. I said, have you talked to her about the money issues? Nope. Why? Can't talk to her. Why? Because we're just going to get in a fight. That's what I'm saying. I shared with him what I shared with you. We'll go somewhere where you can't get in a fight. And he said, I don't even know how to bring it up. I said, all right, this is what I want you to do. And this is where I'm going to encourage you. If you absolutely can't talk about it, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to make up a name. Let's call him Jeff. That's not his name, but let's make it up. I said, Jeff, this is what I want you to do. While you're gone, and he was in a hotel room, snowed in, waiting for probably another 3 or 4 days, he said, before he's able to get back out on the job. I said, Jeff, this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit down. I want you to write her a letter. And everything you feel in your heart, first of all, tell her you don't want a divorce. Tell her you love her. You want to make this work. And then tell her, I know we're having trouble talking, but this is the desire of my heart. Not only do I want to be with you, but here are the dreams and visions I have for us. And they have a shared child together as well. For our child, for my kids, and for your kids. And just lay it all out in the letter. And then here's the part that you can roll your eyes at me. I said, but Jeff, this is how I want you to do it. I want you to get an empty chair, and I want you to put it in front of you. And I want you to put her in your imagination. I want you to put her in that chair. And I want you to look her in the eyes. And I want you just to share your heart. And Jeff, it'll probably be emotional because he was feeling it deep down in his heart. I said, it'll probably be emotional. And that's okay. And as you're walking through this, if you want to record it on your phone first and then go back and write it down, do that. But I want whatever you're saying and feeling, I want you to write it down and I want you to give her that letter. Now, here's what we know. Jeff, in this case, could never share this with her because she's going to be interrupting while he's trying to share his heart. She's going to be taking over the conversation, he said. So when he writes her this letter and he gives her this letter, there's no interrupting. There's no taking over the conversation. She's just hearing your heart that you've written down on this paper. And then we're going to pray over it and ask the Holy Spirit just to anoint these words so that she feels the true intention of your heart. So that's where some of you are, and I'm going to encourage you maybe to do that. So thanks for joining us on Faith Influencer. Thanks for hearing me out on money talks and having money talks and some creative ways to do that. And as always, we appreciate you listening in. Thank you.